Okay, picture this. You walk into the doctor's office, right? But instead of a human doctor, you've got like this super advanced AI sitting there ready to, diagnose you. Kind of a crazy thought, right? It's both exciting and a little unsettling at the same time.
Yeah, it definitely raises some big questions.
Yeah, so today we are diving headfirst into this whole world of AI in medicine, and it's moving fast.
And what's really cool is that we're not like just speculating here. We've got a research paper that one of you, our amazing listeners,
Yeah.
sent in, and it's, well, the title's a mouthful: MedChain,
Mhm.
bridging the gap between LLM agents and clinical practice through interactive sequential benchmarking.
Yeah, I have to admit, when I first saw that title, I thought, "Whoa, okay, this is going to be intense." But then I started reading it, and honestly, it's pretty mind blowing.
Yeah, it's not just about like can AI pass a medical exam. It's about building AI that can really think like a doctor, like making decisions step by step. Just like in a real clinic.
Exactly, yeah. And this is where this MedChain thing comes in, right?
Right. It's like, think of it as a new kind of benchmark, like a much tougher test for medical AI.
Yeah.
It's meant to like really push these systems to their limits.
Wait.
Show us what they can really do, where they excel, and where they still need some work.
Okay, so instead of just like multiple choice questions, they're throwing like a whole obstacle course at these AIs.
Exactly.
Okay, but what's wrong with the existing tests? Why do we need this MedChain thing in the first place?
Well, you see, a lot of the previous AI tests in medicine, they were a bit too simple. They focused on textbook knowledge, kind of static scenarios,
Mm.
but they didn't really capture the dynamic, ever-changing nature of real-world medicine.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like studying for a driving test, by just reading the manual but never actually getting behind the wheel.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
You might know the rules, but
Yeah.
can you handle the unexpected,
Right.
the real world? And that's the gap that MedChain is trying to bridge. It simulates the entire patient journey, like from the moment they walk into the clinic all the way to the final treatment plan,
Mm.
and they break it down into 5 stages: specialty referral, history taking, examination, diagnosis, and then treatment.
Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. You mentioned specialty referral. So how does the AI even like figure out which type of doctor the patient needs to see in the first place?
So they use AI to simulate a patient. And this patient agent interacts with the LLM, the AI that's being tested.
Yeah.
And they provide information, but they do it, bit by bit, just like a real patient would.
Right, so the AI can't just like download the entire patient history in one go. It has to actually ask questions and figure things out like step by step.
Right. Exactly. And to make it even more realistic, they've incorporated real electronic health records,
Mm.
EHRs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, complete with medical images, reports, all the kind of messy details you'd find in an actual patient file.
So they're really throwing like the whole kitchen sink at these AI doctors.
They are, yeah. They have a data set of over 12,000 cases spanning 19 specialties, even including thousands of medical images. They're really trying to make it like a representative sample of what an AI might encounter in a real clinical setting.
Okay, so it's not just about like textbook knowledge. It's about being able to handle the chaos and complexity of real world medicine.
Precisely. And to tackle this challenge, the researchers, they developed their own AI system. They call it MedChain-Agent. And what's really interesting is that it's not just one big AI. It's a team of specialized agents, each with their own role to play.
Wait, so like a team of AI doctors like all consulting on the case together.
Yeah, that's the idea. Imagine a team of AI specialists,
Yeah.
right? Each with their own area of expertise. One might be, really good at analyzing scans. Another one might be amazing at understanding patient history. And they work together, sharing information, refining their conclusions. They even have an AI that acts as a supervisor, kind of like a senior doctor mentoring a resident.
Whoa, that's incredible.
Yeah, this multi-agent approach it's pretty new, and it allows for a level of specialization and collaboration that's been, really hard to achieve with single AI systems.
Yeah, so it's like instead of one AI trying to do it all, they've created this team where different AIs specialize in different things and then work together.
Exactly.
Okay, but how do these agents like learn and improve? Are they just relying on the data from those electronic health records?
Well, that's a great question, and that's where another cool element of this research comes in. It's called MedCase-RAG. It's basically a system that allows this MedChain agent to learn from a massive and constantly expanding database of similar cases.
So it's like having access to a huge library of medical cases, but instead of a human doctor, spending hours poring over textbooks, it's the AI that's constantly analyzing and learning from this data.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And it allows the AI to go beyond just simple pattern matching. You can start to understand like the underlying relationships between symptoms and diagnoses and treatments. It's a big step towards AI that can really reason. Like make informed decisions, not just regurgitate information.
Okay, so we've got this intense challenge, this MedChain thing designed to like push AI to its limits. And we've got this team of specialized AI agents, MedChain-Agent, ready to take on the test.
Yeah.
So what happened? Did MedChain-Agent pass with flying colors, or did it stumble?
Well, the results are pretty interesting. MedChain-Agent consistently outperformed other LLMs, even some of the most advanced models out there.
Mm.
It seems this team approach and the continuous learning gave it a real edge. But it's not as simple as just declaring AI the winner. There are some important nuances to consider.
Okay, so it's not a simple like AI versus humans
Okay.
story. There's more to it than that. What else did the research reveal about the strengths and weaknesses of this new breed of medical AI? Like how did it actually perform on this ultimate medical exam?
Well, let's dive into that next.
Mhm.
The results of the different stages of the clinical journey, they're particularly insightful and they might actually surprise you. For example, when it came to specialty referral, MedChain-Agent, well, it really shined. It was remarkably accurate, actually. Like it exceeded what they saw with the single agent models.
So having that team of AI specialists, like each with their own little focus, that really made a difference.
Yeah, it did. I mean, think about it. If you've got one AI and it's trying to be, a jack of all trades, it might miss like subtle clues, things that, a specialist would pick up on right away.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
with this team approach, you've got, different AIs. They're looking at the same information,
Mhm.
but from different, angles, and they're sharing their insights.
Right. So it's like getting a second opinion, but from like a whole bunch of AI doctors.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about the next stage, that history taking? That seems like a really tricky one for AI. Like, how do you teach a machine to, have a real conversation with a patient to pick up on those subtle cues that humans are, so good at?
Yeah, that's where that AI patient comes in.
Right.
It's programmed with all the details of the case, right? But it doesn't just, hand over a neat little summary. The AI doctor have to ask the right questions,
Mhm.
follow up, interpret the responses, just like in a real consultation.
So it's like an interrogation, but with a friendly AI doing the questioning.
Well, interrogation might be a bit strong, but yeah, you get the idea. It's a real back and forth, right? The AI has to be proactive.
Yeah. And how did MedChain-Agent do with this conversational challenge? Was it able to, hold its own against this simulated patient?
It did surprisingly well, actually. It was able to, ask relevant questions, follow up appropriately, and it could even handle like some ambiguity, when the patient's responses weren't perfectly clear.
Okay.
But this is also where we start to see, some of the limitations of current AI.
Oh.
Like while it could gather information, pretty effectively, it did sometimes struggle with the nuances, like the subtleties of human communication.
Mhm.
For example, it might misinterpret, a patient's tone, or it might not recognize when a patient is, hesitant to disclose certain information.
So even though it can ask questions and process the answers, it's still missing that deeper level of understanding. The kind that comes from like years of human experience.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like the difference between, speaking a language fluently and really understanding the culture behind it.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
And it highlights a key challenge for medical AI, how to bridge that gap
Mhm.
between, data analysis and genuine human connection.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the AI referring patients to the right specialist. They're, having somewhat realistic conversations. What's next in this medical AI obstacle course?
Well, next comes a task that you might think AI would be, really good at.
Okay.
Medical image analysis.
Yeah, AI is like all about pattern recognition, right?
Uh,
And medical images are full of patterns.
exactly. Yeah. You'd think spotting a tumor on a scan would be, a piece of cake for a computer.
Yeah, but it's not always that simple, is it?
No, it's not. Because the AI has to understand the context, right? They have to the findings with the patient's history.
Mhm.
And they've got to generate a report, one that's clear and informative for, other doctors.
So it's not just about seeing, it's about like understanding and communicating what it sees.
Exactly, exactly. And MedChain doesn't make it easy. The AI is presented with a whole range of images. You've got X-rays, CT scans, ultrasounds, even microscopic pathology slides.
Wow.
And it has to, analyze each one, identify any abnormalities, and then explain what those findings mean in the context of the patient's, overall health.
Okay, so how did MedChain-Agent handle this? Did it live up to the hype? AI being the master of medical image analysis.
Well, in some ways, it did perform well. It was able to, accurately identify key features, highlight areas of concern. But when it came to actually writing those detailed reports, it sometimes fell short. Yeah, the reports lacked, how do we put this? They lacked the nuance, the clinical judgment that you'd expect from, a human radiologist.
Right.
Sometimes they were too technical. They missed the bigger picture, or they failed to connect the image findings with the patient's overall condition.
So the AI could spot the problem, the anomaly, but it couldn't really like explain what it meant or how it fit into the bigger picture of the patient's health.
Yeah, and that suggests that, while AI can be a really valuable tool for image analysis, it still has, a ways to go before it can replace the expertise of a human.
Right. It needs to develop those soft skills, right, of
Specialties.
interpretation and
Yeah.
communication. Okay, so we've seen how MedChain-Agent handled, specialty referral, history taking, medical image analysis. Now we come to like the grand finale.
The big one.
Diagnosis and treatment. This is where the rubber meets the road, okay?
Absolutely, yeah. This is where all that information, for the previous stages comes together, and the AI has to, put the pieces of the puzzle together, arrive at a diagnosis, recommend a course of action, No pressure.
And this is where that sequential nature of MedChain really comes into play, right? Because if the AI missed something, crucial in those earlier stages, it's going to have a hard time making an accurate
Oh,
diagnosis.
absolutely, yeah. Any errors, any omissions along the way,
Yeah.
they can cascade,
Okay.
lead to inaccurate diagnoses, wrong treatments.
Yeah, so the stakes are pretty high here. So tell me, how did MedChain-Agent perform in this final test? Did it show signs of, being able to think like a doctor and make, sound clinical decisions?
Well, what's fascinating here is that despite the complexity, MedChain-Agent actually did quite well in these final stages.
Hmm.
It showed a solid understanding of medical knowledge, and it could apply that knowledge to come up with reasonable diagnoses and treatment plans.
Okay, so it wasn't just like throwing out random diagnoses.
No, no, not at all. It could tell the difference between similar conditions, consider potential drug interactions, and even tailored treatment plans to the patient's needs and preferences.
So it sounds like AI is well on its way to becoming, like a super doctor, able to diagnose and treat anything. Should we all be like booking appointments with robot physicians now?
Well, not so fast. While these results are, encouraging, it's really important to remember that MedChain, it's a simulation.
Right.
It's a very controlled environment. And that AI patient, they don't throw curveballs like a real person might.
Yeah, it's one thing to ace a test. It's another thing to deal with, the real world, real patients with real lives.
Exactly. And we can't forget those limitations we talked about earlier. The fact that the data comes from a single Chinese website
Hmm.
and the patient is a simulation, not a real person. Those factors could have a big impact on how well these findings apply to other healthcare systems, other cultures.
Yeah, that's a good point. So where do we go from here? What are the next steps in this evolution of medical AI?
Well, one thing's for sure. We need to keep pushing the boundaries, right?
Hmm.
Keep exploring what AI can do in medicine. But we also need to be, really mindful of the limitations, the potential biases, of this technology. And maybe most importantly, we need to have a bigger conversation, about the ethics of all of this, of giving AI more autonomy in healthcare.
Right, because even if AI becomes, incredibly good at diagnosis and treatment, there are still some really big questions we need to answer. Questions about responsibility, accountability. How do we make sure that this technology is used ethically, that it benefits everyone, not just, a select few? So we've talked about, the potential of AI in medicine, but also some of the challenges, the things we really need to be careful about.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of those challenges is the data itself. Remember the data used to train MedChain-Agent, it all came from a single Chinese website.
Right.
So that raises some questions, right, about how well those findings, how well they apply to other parts of the world.
Right, because medical practices they can vary so much from country to country. What works in one place might not be, appropriate or even effective somewhere else.
That's a really important point. And it's not just about different countries, right? We also have to think about, the diversity of patients within a country.
Right.
Age, gender, ethnicity,
Right.
socioeconomic status, all these things can have a huge impact on people's health.
Yeah, so it's not just about having like a lot of data, right? It's about
No.
having data that's really representative of the real world,
Exactly.
that captures, the amazing diversity of patients and healthcare systems that we see out there.
Yeah, we need AI systems that are trained on data that reflects the complexity of human health,
Hmm.
not just a narrow slice of it.
Right. Otherwise, we risk creating AI that just perpetuates the biases that already exist.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that brings us to another limitation. This AI patient, this simulated patient. While it's a really clever way to simulate interaction, it's still not a real person.
Yeah. And it can't fully capture, all the things that make us human.
Right. The unpredictability, the emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. A real patient, they might not always, give straightforward answers. They might hesitate to share certain things.
Hmm.
They might be scared. They might be confused, maybe even angry. And a human doctor would pick up on those things.
Right.
And factor them into their diagnosis, their treatment.
Right. And AI, at least in its current form, it's just not equipped to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
So even if AI gets really, really good at, analyzing data, making diagnoses, it could still miss like really important stuff if it can't understand that human element.
Exactly. And that's why I think, at least for now, AI in medicine, it's going to be most effective as a tool.
Yeah.
Something to help human doctors to,
Wow.
to augment their intelligence, not to replace them.
So it's not about AI versus humans. It's about AI and humans working together.
That's it. AI can do the data analysis, find the patterns, maybe provide insights that we might miss, but it's the human doctor who brings the experience, the empathy, the ability to see the whole person, not just the data.
That's really reassuring, actually, because honestly, the thought of being diagnosed by a machine, it can be a little scary.
Yeah, I get that, but AI is a tool, right? Just like any other medical technology, is how we use it that matters.
That's a great point. It's not about the technology itself. It's about our intentions, the choices we make. So as we wrap up this deep dive into medical AI, what are some key takeaways for our listeners? What should they be thinking about?
Well, first, I think it's clear that AI is going to change healthcare in some pretty big ways.
Yeah, I mean, this research, it shows us that AI is capable of learning, reasoning, things we thought only humans could do.
Right. Yeah, we're seeing these AI systems. They can analyze huge amounts of data, find the patterns, and even make, clinical recommendations. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But we also need to remember that AI, it's not a magic bullet. There are limitations.
Right. We need to be aware of those biases that might be hidden in the data. We need more diverse data sets, and we need to be realistic about, the challenges of replicating human empathy.
Yeah, and maybe most important, we need to keep having these conversations, these ethical conversations about AI in healthcare.
Yeah.
Who's responsible when AI makes a mistake? How do we make sure it benefits everyone? These are big questions, and they're questions for all of us.
This has been an incredible journey, really, exploring the cutting edge of AI in medicine, from simulating patient journeys to creating teams of AI specialists to, really confronting the limitations and the ethical challenges.
Yeah, and the most exciting thing is that this is really just the beginning.
Right.
AI is constantly evolving, and we can expect to see even more breakthroughs in healthcare. But the future of AI in medicine, it's not something that's going to be decided just by researchers or tech companies.
It's a future that we're all going to shape together. As patients, as doctors, as citizens, we all have a role to play in making sure that this powerful technology is used ethically, responsibly to improve health and well-being for everyone.
So what stood out to you from our conversation today? What are you thinking about? What are your hopes and maybe your concerns about the future of AI in medicine?
Yeah, we encourage you to keep exploring this amazing field. And remember, this whole deep dive, it was inspired by a research paper that one of you, our listeners, sent in.
Yeah.
So keep those questions coming. Your curiosity, it drives these conversations. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep diving deep.